Hi guys, I'll be your host Prime, and I'm excited to show you what I've skipped a few uploads working on. But before we get to that, huge shout out to Houston Hydrogon. Hoping I'm saying that right. We talked about the upcoming First Strike novel that will be available to buy sometime during this month of November, so definitely go ahead and check out the video on his channel. Link to that will be in the description. Now for today's video, as I said, I've been working on this for a fair amount of time, and have skipped a few uploads in order to actually make it good, and we've been working on the first episode of the Showdown series. Consider it a versus series. The first being between Tracer, one of Overwatch's top agents, and Genji, one of the finest cyborgs known to man. Who would win in a fight? We'll come to that answer by the end of the video. Genji Shimada was born as the second son to the head of the well-established Shimada criminal organization in Japan. Genji enjoyed a lavish lifestyle supported by the wealth of his family's enterprise. Soon enough, the young Shimada's responsibilities caught up to him, and after an almost fatal confrontation with his elder brother Hanzo, Genji was left on the brink of death. Thanks to the efforts of Overwatch, more specifically the contributions of Dr. Ziegler, Genji was saved and his combat skills were improved dramatically. Encased in a suit of armor, protecting his cybernetics, Genji was granted access to enhanced movement and agility that was previously unknown to the cyborg, and he works with Overwatch using his newfound powers to take down his former clan. After completing this task, Genji wandered the world trying to find himself as he was disgusted by what he had become. Eventually, he met Zenyatta, an Omnic monk whose teachings renewed a sense of purpose and security in Genji. He has now truly become free. Not like a hippie though. Overwatch's experimental flight program was a pretty tough gig to get into, but the youngest of all participants found herself piloting a prototype plane which possessed the ability to teleport. But as most things do, something went wrong and our young pilot was presumed dead after the aircraft's teleportation matrix malfunctioned. Months later, she reappeared, but not as the same Lena she always was. Her molecules had been desynchronized from the flow of time, as she suffered from coronal dissociation, which prevented her from maintaining a physical form. Overwatch's scientists were at a loss, and it seems things were looking at their bleakest until a scientist, Winston, created a coronal accelerator, allowing Tracer to control the flow of her own time, speeding it up or slowing it down at will. This made her one of Overwatch's top operatives. Today, even despite the organization's end, she still tries to solve issues of the world on the side of good at every opportunity. If you have some specific characters you'd like me to have duke it out on the battlefield, feel free to leave a request in the comment section. As always, if you enjoy, slap the like button and of course give the subscribe button a tap or two for more content. And without any further ado, let's get into the analysis. Genji's entire body is encased in a special suit of armor, which protects his body and cybernetics. The cybernetics have granted Genji incredible physical advantages, allowing him to achieve feats that would normally be impossible for a normal human being. He can perform a double jump and move at speeds faster than the human eye could possibly detect with great control. Tracer, on the other hand, wears little armor and is still just as nimble, if not even more nimble than Genji on the battlefield. Her ability to control the flow of time is a valuable asset, and like Genji, she has access to feats of speed that no human being is capable of. Unfortunately for the pilot, Genji's cybernetics also afford him enhanced dexterity and physical strength. And as the two are close enough, if not equal as far as speed is concerned, the Shimada's strength more than grants him the point in physical fitness, though the edge is purely given on the merit of strength and not speed. Tracer comes to battle with two pulse pistols, one in each hand, which both use similar technology to her coronal accelerator to restore ammo. When she depletes the active clip of the pistols, she simply reverses the weapons to a time when they were fully loaded. This practically complements her kit in pretty much any way imaginable, allowing her to remain as nimble as possible. However, if the situation requires it, she is more than ready to whip out her Pulse Bomb, a devastating explosive which the acrobat can attach to surfaces and most commonly people. It's safe to say that if this baby is stuck to you, you're going bye-bye. Sharp edges and deadly accuracy. These are the vocal points of Genji's weaponry. The shuriken are stored in his right arm for easy access for Genji. His short sword allows him to deflect weapon fire, redirecting the damage at a target location of his choosing with, yet again, deadly accuracy. Genji can deflect anything from rocket missiles to bullet fire, and is even capable of redirecting a swing or two from Reinhardt's hammer, thereby avoiding the damage of the attack. Whilst the exact material that Genji's short sword is made out of is unknown, for now it has proven to be highly resilient. Genji's last weapon is his long sword, or the Dragon Blade, which grants Genji access to further reach as well as vastly stronger melee blows. Whilst Tracer's arsenal is formidable and boasts raw power and unlimited supply, it is less versatile when application is concerned in comparison to how Genji utilizes his tools. The blades allow Genji to fight more defensively, or even potentially allowing the ninja to create space between himself and Tracer. At distances, the advantage belongs to Genji, as his weaponry gives him access to greater freedom in this fight. I'm giving the advantage to Genji, if for no other reason than versatility, though due to the nature of this fight, it's not a very wide advantage. Both combatants will be facing each other in close combat most of the time, and as such, whilst versatility is nice, Tracer will always be keeping Genji on his toes. Besides the super amazing ability to double jump, Genji's really only ability that I would consider a special power would be his Dragon Blade. His ability to control his Shimada Dragon seems to be linked with that blade, and it is unclear whether he can actually use the beast's power without it. This is probably a callback to his battle with Hanzo, and maybe some of the after effects of it. Not to discredit the power of the blade itself though, it is far stronger and more destructive than his short sword. Unfortunately for Genji though, Tracer's trump card is far more expanded upon. Her manipulation of time allows her to blink forward or ahead in time to reach certain destinations. This allows her to run circles around her opponents. But her best use of time for when she's in a bind is to recall herself back into a state before she was potentially injured or sustained serious damage. This is not by any means a healing ability by any description, as she's pretty much, in a sense, rewriting the damage, effectively meaning that whatever damage she sustained never happened in the first place. As both characters' methods of effectively slaying one another would rely heavily upon exploiting an inkling of weaknesses in each other's battle style or throughout the fight in a heartbeat, the ability to reverse a fatal blow from Genji is an invaluable asset, and as such, without a doubt, Tracer gets the edge for special powers. So, let's sum up what we have so far. Genji and Tracer have no advantage over one another in terms of speed, and the difference in their weapons changes from distance to distance. At close range, they are near even, and at a distance, Genji takes the point. As for special powers, we simply just don't know enough about Genji's capabilities as far as his Dragon Blade is concerned. Does it possess as much sheer damage as Hanzo's, harnessed and channeled through the power of his Dragon Blade? Or is it just a cool looking ability animation? Other than that double jump, against Tracer it's purely dependent on the terrain anyway. We're most likely going to take this battle to an open field, which the double jump won't be too useful in. All of this whilst Tracer has the ability to control her flow of time in the fight, negating a potentially fatal wound from the ninja. The last real factor is something I find to be questionable, and that is Tracer's use of distracting taunts during her fights. During both of her battles with Widowmaker, Tracer taunted the assassin constantly during their battle, making Widow more susceptible to making a mistake or two, and acting out of frustration rather than rationality. This is a tricky factor to discuss, as Tracer's only opponent we've really seen her face off against is, surprise surprise, Widowmaker. And the two have a somewhat shared rivalry-style relationship. Therefore, it is unclear whether this is a strategy she employs against all of her opponents, or just for Widow. Luckily for our field agent though, considering the type of matchup that Genji would shape up to be, I think it highly doubtful that this would have any effect on the ninja, as the cyborg seems to be quite difficult to enrage or otherwise influence emotionally. The two combatants were both members of the Overwatch strike team around the same time and are both noteworthy figures. It is not too far-fetched to assume that they would have been slightly familiar with one another's fighting styles. However, there are no in-game throwbacks to this, nor are there other media which would suggest that they fought together, and so this is pure speculation. Let's assume that they have not fought together in combat for this showdown and have no prior knowledge about each other's abilities or fighting skills. Ultimately, this matchup comes down to two things: reaction time and stamina. Let's set up this fight, and say it takes place in the ruins of Ilios. The two combatants face each other in the center of the ruin, which sports symmetrical entry locations on either side. The cyborg prepares his shuriken as Tracer readies her bombs. The battle begins with a seemingly frantic yet controlled exchange of fire. Tracer rushing towards Genji and keeping him primarily on the defensive with her pulse pistols. This continues for minutes. Tracer constantly tests Genji's defenses, which appear to be holding for the time being. Soon enough, things appear to be amiss with Tracer's chrono accelerator. Now's my chance, Genji thinks to himself as he fiercely retaliates Tracer with his shuriken, aiming precisely for the killing blow. Tracer nimbly dodges as many of the stars as she possibly could, but without her chronal accelerator, the scratch on her cheek was sure to come sooner or later. Blood slowly begins to drip out of the wound. She looks up, spots some rubble ahead, and attempts to use it as cover. A sudden sensation strikes the lower half of her body. Then she falls to the ground in pain. Genji had employed his short sword, disembodying her once beautiful leg. As Genji prepared his blade to deliver the final blow, Tracer smiled, which caught Genji off guard. He lunged forward. "Not yet," Tracer said gleefully, and with that she vanished. Amazed, Genji looked around, astonished by what he had just witnessed. Hearing a swift, beeping sound, the cyborg turned around a second too late, and only nearly escaping the attack. Or so before. Knocked off of his feet? Damn, Genji whispered. His short sword had been eviscerated by the blast, and his left arm, whilst physically in one piece, Genji knew that it would be out of this fight. Quietly, whilst the smoke from the explosion still lingered, he dropped all of the shurikens that he was still holding onto the floor, picked himself up off the ground, and then firmly clenched the hilt of his second blade. Quietly, he unsheathed his blade, dashing towards Tracer at blinding speeds, but her chronal accelerator was already back in the action. They avoided each other's attacks. Metal and Helens flew through the air at undetectable speeds. Tracer retreated with her blinks and released a pulse bomb, which Genji used the momentum of, returning the gift back to its center. Again, Tracer rewinds time, but this time Genji's one step ahead of her, anticipating her reappearance. In an instant, a severed head made contact with the ground, lifeless. As I said, reaction time was a key factor in this fight, as should an opportunity present itself, either participant would be more than capable of exploiting said opportunity to win the battle. This scene from the Alive short, in which Tracer restlessly checks her chest for a wound of any kind, suggests to me that she has no presence of the world around her during the use of her recall ability, and so whether or not she would be able to avoid an aimed strike from Genji is questionable. During the Dragons short, Genji fought his brother as if he had the entire fight planned out from its beginning. Now yes, Genji knew Hanzo better than anyone else in the world did, and yes, Hanzo was far more reckless and emotionally driven during that fight. However, this does not dismiss the cyborg's calculated approach to the fight, defensively warding off Hanzo's advances before disarming his older brother. Therefore, it is not too unthinkable to deduce that Genji would be ready for Tracer should she use her recall ability a second time during their battle. Nevertheless, this does not mean that Tracer could not place the bomb onto Genji manually, effectively winning the fight. I just believe this to be less likely in a scenario where neither combatants know each other, as Tracer would be more familiar with how much punishment Genji would be able to withstand, and therefore make more sound judgments accordingly. But then the same can be said for Genji. And with that, I declare the Cyborg Ninja the winner of this showdown. First of all guys, if you made it this far into the video, be sure to type in the comment section, Winston saves lives. I'll be sure that you made it this far. Did you enjoy this matchup? Do you agree that Genji would win in this fight? Or maybe Tracer would easily dispatch of Genji without question? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you have an idea for a potential matchup between two characters in Overwatch, let me know in the comment section below and I'll get right on it. If you want to see more of these, hit that like button and share it as much as you can. Your support is all I need to be motivated to make more. And until next time, have a nice day and I'll see you guys in the next one.